When an all-powerful superintelligence chooses to study average Carol Peters, the fate of the world hangs in the balance. As the AI decides to enslave, save, or destroy humanity, it's up to Carol to prove that people are worth saving. Hey, how's it going, everybody, and welcome back to my channel, Movie Files. I am here today to give you all my thoughts on the new HBO Max action comedy film, Superintelligence. Very excited to let you all know what I thought about this movie, and if you should check it out on HBO Max come November 26th. Now, this is a spoiler-free review, but before we dive into the review, as you can see on the screen now, make sure you all are following me on all my other social media accounts. That way, you can stay up to date on what's going on over here at Movie Files. If you are new to this channel, welcome to the community. Consider subscribing, and while you're at it, hit that notification bell. That way you all don't miss any of my other movie reviews, TV coverage, live streams, all the fun things we do on this very channel. It would mean a lot to me if you all can share this video and give it a thumbs up. It helps out the channel, but I also really appreciate it. And in the comments below, let's discuss Superintelligence. Did you have a good time? Did you have some good laughs? Did you not enjoy yourself? Let's discuss that in the comments. And also, this is the fourth time we have director Ben Falcone working with his wife, Melissa McCarthy. What is your favorite movie that they've done together? Let me know in the comments. Let's have a great discussion about that in the comment section below. So, Superintelligence, again, this is the fourth time they worked together. It's a mixed bag when it comes to the comedy that I've seen them in, and we'll talk about that a little bit later, but I'm here to start this thing off with the positives. First and foremost, the MVP, the scene stealer, the funniest character to me, and one of my favorite kind of up-and-coming actors in the last 5 or 6 years is Brian Tyree Henry. I thought his character was the funniest character. He was almost in a different movie, and that's in the best way possible, because I thought that his comedy really kind of spoke more to my kind of comedy sensibilities compared to some of the other stuff that we get in this film, which we'll discuss a little bit later. But I found his character, his interactions with Carol, to be very funny. I found his interactions with his, his team, kind of figuring out, is this AI taking over the world? The moments that we get with him talking to some of the government officials and the U.S. nation, stuff like that, I found those bits to be the funniest part. I wish he was in the movie a lot more, because again, Brian Tyree Henry, man, whether it be, obviously Atlanta, seeing him kind of spawn into these big blockbuster films, a la a Joker, seeing him in independent films like If Beale Street Can Talk, and you talk about the future for this guy. I mean, we're talking Godzilla vs. Kong, Eternals, Bullet Train. I mean, this guy's career is taking off. So I'm a big fan of his work, and I thought he was easily the best character in my personal opinion. And then highlighting some of the other things that I enjoyed about this film, I didn't find myself laughing out loud, but there were some bits that I found to be pretty funny. Number one, the idea that the government has to go dark, right? Which means that the government is going back, way back in the day, to kind of figure out how to take this AI down, meaning that there's no phones, there's no computers, and seeing those different bits of how, the technology has to be kind of unplugged for them to kind of take down this technology. I found that to be pretty interesting, which brings me into the other different comedy bits. I found Melissa McCarthy, again, when she interacted with Brian Tyree Henry, to be funny. The interactions that we get with the AI as voiced by James Corden, I found those moments to be charming at points. But, the gist of kind of my positives in regards to the story, when it comes to different genres tied into other genres, like, for example, this is pretty much like if Terminator were a comedy and didn't have a killer robot to come from the future into this storyline, it kind of has that beats of what if Skynet really did come to life, which is something that, there is a bit of a message in this film, right? It was like, we rely so much on technology, and there's so much Wi-Fi everywhere, whether it be in our toothbrushes, our TVs, our toasters. So there is a little bit of a message of like, hey, sometimes you got to unplug yourself and not rely so much on technology. And once things kind of get back to normal in this regular world, how important human interactions are, right? So there is a little bit of messaging that I can take away from this film. But again, I like this kind of Skynet storyline of what if technology took over and how the world would look like and how people would react, right? Where it says, don't interfere, and how government officials just always have to stick their nose in the situation. So there is a little bit of some positives to say in regards to the story. And then kind of lastly, in regards to just other things I liked about the film, when it comes to the structuring of the movie, I will say on a big blockbuster budget, I think this is Ben Falcone's, like, one of his more better directed films in regards to the scale of this movie. It's labeled as an action comedy, And there's probably like 0% action in this film and more so comedy more than anything. But I will say when it comes to the first half of the structuring of the story, the bits again between Melissa McCarthy, Brian Tyree Henry, which he's more involved in the first half, as well as the AI and the bits with Carol Peters as this average woman, which I'm just like, there's more average people than her, but literally there's a character that calls her the most average person in the world. And that's when the AI kind of like, oh, this must be my perfect candidate here, or my guinea pig. But I did like the first half in regards to just seeing Melissa McCarthy trying to figure out, is this AI real? Seeing Carol getting this, car and this house and all the different bits like that. That's when the film to me was at its funniest. And even at that point, it wasn't like necessarily hilarious, but it was more entertaining, more compelling than when we get to the later half of this film. So those are my positives. Transitioning into my criticisms here. Ben Falcone and Melissa McCarthy, the comedy to me, whenever I see them on projects together, and just comedy in general, I'm not a person that likes long, drawn-out bits. There are so many examples in this film where I think like they're like, keep it going, we're going to get them to laugh. Like I think of, and this is in the trailer, when she goes to an interview and there's a beanbag chair. And yes, the first couple times, it's like, yeah, that's kind of funny, right? And the little bits and the back and forth she has. But then when you just keep it going and going, you see her fall 5 or 6 times, just like, okay, can we just move on? And there's many different examples of that in this film, whether it's the bit when she's lost at the job, the bit where she is, at the dancing in front of the car. I mean, there are just numerous examples in this film for me where it's just like, you guys, okay, we get the joke. Let's go on to the next one. The punchline's already way past us now. Let's get to the next scene. I think that Ben Falcone and his wife, Melissa McCarthy, sometimes just don't know when to end the joke. And that's just happens a lot in their films to me. And that's definitely something that stood out to me. In regards to some characters that really didn't work for me and just some honestly miscasting, I'm a big fan of Bobby Cannavale, but to me, his character was so like childish at times. I'm just like, Melissa McCarthy, what is it about this guy that you seem to really like? Which I'll talk about the love story here in a bit, but his character to me was just like in a completely different movie, and that romance rom-com aspect of their back and forth didn't work for me at all, which brings me to one of my biggest issues with this movie, which is the second half, which is the first half. It has the comedy bits. It has this, I really wish they would just focus on Carol Peters, this AI, and Brian Tyree Henry character trying to figure out everything. But then you throw in Bobby's character, and then the second half is literally a love story, which to me didn't make any sense, because we are supposed, as the audience, this is just my perspective, we are supposed to care about this couple that we didn't even see their relationship on screen at all. It's all off-screen stuff, and it's like exposition of like, oh, we were in love, we were supposed to be together, and the whole second half of this movie is seeing them kind of rekindle their relationship. And that's kind of the, without getting into the spoilers, kind of the mission that the AI wants Carol Peters to kind of dive into, is this love story with this one individual that I did not like that character. So once we get into that second half of the film, when we focus so much on this relationship that I have no connection to at all, it just made the film really drag on. And again, that second half to me was just a bore fest, if I'm being honest, because the jokes weren't funny. The love interest wasn't funny. Just kind of taking the story into this rom-com, more dramatic kind of romance to me, that's when the film just completely lost me, unfortunately. And then even the message within the film is Carol Peters as this loving person who's willing to put others before her. You're seeing her slowly get more things, a Tesla, a penthouse, this money in her bank account, and it's just like, wait, are we getting any character development at all? She's literally the same character from the beginning of the movie all the way to the end of the movie, and what lessons did she learn as a character? Not that she was a bad person, but it's just like, what's the message now? Because it's just like, I don't want to spoil anything, but by the end of the film, it's just like, okay, where do we get at besides the idea of like relying so much on technology and being one as a kind? All that stuff kind of gets lost in the shuffle because it's very convoluted by this love story that I had 0% interest in. So again, the first half, pretty entertaining at points, had some good laughs. That second half to me was a complete bore fest. So before I give you all my overall thoughts, give you my score, make sure if you haven't already to give this video a thumbs up, share this video, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss any of my other content. With that being said, let me give you all my overall thoughts. So overall, I think Superintelligence is probably the best Ben Falcone directed film, as well as his collaboration with his wife, just because I like the concept of technology taking over the world. There are some bits that I found to be funny. Brian Tyree Henry definitely stole the movie. But unfortunately, when we get into this love interest story and this romance and this kind of rekindle of the relationship, to me, that's where the film completely lost me, and the jokes went out the door. The premise of the film went out the door. There's literally bits where we don't even get the AI involved at all, and that's where I think the film just completely went off the rails. So with that being said, I'm going to give Superintelligence a 2.5 out of 5. Again, we all know comedy is very subjective, but for me, once we hit that second half, the comedy just completely went out the door, and it became a romance film, which I wasn't there for. So that's just my thoughts. So I recommend you all check it out. It's on a holiday, sure, gather your friends and family together. There are plenty other movies that I recommend before this, like Uncle Frank, Happiest Season, and there's a couple other films that are coming out this day that I probably would recommend before I do this. But hey, if you're a Melissa McCarthy fan, if you're a diehard fan of hers and you love her collaboration with her husband, maybe this is the film for you, but it didn't really work for me, even though this is probably the best collaboration between the two. But fingers crossed, we know they're going to work together again, and maybe the next film is their best project yet. But thank you all for watching this review. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know again in the comments what you all thought about this film. Make sure if you haven't already to like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you don't miss any of my other content. Thank you all for watching this review, and we'll see you on the next video.